Hello, my friends, and welcome to a special edition of the Mail Club Corner. I have a webcomic called Castoff, and every month I design 2 stickers and a print for the Comics Monthly Mail Club. Why is this month special, you ask? Well, because this time my viewers designed the characters for me. See, every month my patrons help me pick a theme for that month's Mail Club goodies. We've done genre swaps, AUs, holiday themes, crossovers with other franchises, etc. And for May, we're celebrating MerMay, a yearly mermaid-themed art challenge. I wanted to do a redo of the MerMay piece I did a few years ago, where I designed mermaid versions of Frankie and Vector for the stickers, and did this print of Frankie bothering the rest of the main trio. I thought revisiting the theme would be fun, but this time I added a twist. Instead of me designing mermaid versions of the characters, I held a contest where the comics readers designed them, and the winners would be drawn for this month's Mail Club artwork. This isn't the first time I've done a design contest for readers. A few years ago, I held a contest to design Halloween costumes for the characters, and I had a ton of fun looking over all the entries and choosing the winners. Here's the final pieces from those. It's been about a year and a half since the last contest, so I thought it would be a great time to do another, this time with a mermaid theme. The submission period was open for a few months, winners were chosen, I did the Mail Club art using the winning designs, and now it's finally time to announce the winners and show off the final pieces. So first off, I have to say, y'all made this really difficult. There were over 400 character designs submitted across more than 200 entries, and choosing between them was a major task. There were so many that I would cycle through the designs and think, oh man, I want to draw that one, I want to draw that one, I want to draw this one too! I ended up doing several rounds of judging over a couple of days, filtering more each time before deciding on the final set of winners, and I'll go ahead and say this now, just because your design wasn't picked doesn't mean that I didn't like it. I could sit and rattle off stuff I loved about every single entry. It would take hours, but I could. What blew me away was how much thought was put into all of these entries. For example, seeing all the different ways people chose to redesign these characters, with many not just choosing fish based on their colors or physical attributes, but incorporating real aquatic biology and how it would match up with character personalities and storylines. And some really stretched the definition of what a mermaid could be, making hybrids with not just fish, but also things like sea slugs, seals, jellyfish, and even Nautilus Frankie, who I love. There were even a couple entries where artists took the character stories into account. We had several anglerfish Vectors, a couple of mechanical mermaid Frankies, and one that's going to haunt my nightmares forever, Submarine Frankie. I will never unsee him, thank you. On top of the really clever design, so many people included lore with their submissions. Like full-on stories describing how they'd play with the characters in this hypothetical mermaid alternate universe, writing out what the story would be like and what they would change about the characters and their storylines to fit within the new AU. And as a story lover, that was so cool to see! I love getting a chance to see inside people's brains and see how they play with the little guys that came out of my soul. That is so cool! I had so much fun looking through all of them and reading everyone's notes on their submissions, and narrowing it down to the final designs took days. I kept waffling over which of the designs appealed to me most, specifically for the purposes of drawing them for Mail Club merchandise, and it was a real task, and it almost broke me. But in the end, here's where we landed for the final designs. So let's do the stickers first. This entry by Rising Solar included designs for the entire main cast, with each character themed around not just a fish, but also a fantasy character type, aka the fastest and easiest way into my heart. They drew Marina as a princess, Ariana as a knight, Vector as a mage/wizard, Frankie as a pirate, and Rory as a rogue. And of all 5 of these designs, the one I latched onto immediately was their Rory design, based around a cookie cutter shark. From the submission, I knew immediately Rory had to be some sort of shark. She just gives the biggest shark vibes ever. Specifically, I chose a cookie cutter shark because their underbellies can glow green like her, and that they're notorious thieves, zooming past other sea animals and taking a chomp out of them. Couple of things here. First of all, absolutely correct that Rory is shark-coded. It's basically canon that she thinks sharks are the coolest things ever, and I've actually done a few mail clubs showing her love of sharks in the past. Secondly, I also have a love of sharks. My Zoomy daughter gets that from me, and all of the Animal Planet and Discovery Channel documentaries I watched about sharks as a kid. Shark Week is a national holiday in my book. Cookie cutter sharks specifically I have fond memories of from watching the Shark Week episode of The Most Extreme, a very odd show that would count down the most extreme animals in a different category every episode. And in one episode, the cookie cutter shark actually came in first on account of these little sumbitches like to take chomps out of nuclear submarines. They're the only parasitic species of shark, and rather than killing their prey, they latch onto the side of a seal or a fish or a submarine, take a perfectly circular chunk out of them, hence the name cookie cutter, and then swim off into the night. It works very well for Rory. She's very much the type to grab stuff and then run rather than stick around for a fight. When trying to tie the thief vibes to her mermaid version, I immediately thought of including some kind of stolen treasure into the composition, and decided to show her sitting on top of a pile of stolen pirate's gold, chest included. And something interesting that some of you all might have noticed, I didn't use my coin brush for this. Yeah, you know, the coin brush from that Storytime video I posted a few years ago. The one that made a random TikToker start a whole campaign against me. That coin brush. I could have used that one here, but I didn't. Call that character growth. I thought the line art on the brush would make the coin pile look too messy, so instead I took a round brush and squished it down a little to make a lineless version. Quick, easy, hassle-free, just the way we like it. Anyway, here's the final Rory sticker. How many doubloons do you think she's got? Alrighty, and for our next sticker, we're doing... guess what? More sharks! Specifically, this entry by KLQ Draws, who designed all three of the main boys as fish. In their submission, they wrote, I decided to make the elves more shark-like while Frankie is a koi fish. I wanted to make all bandages/coverings kind of seaweed-coated while Vector has a straight-up wrap/sash to separate him from the others. Short but succinct, I like it. Out of these three, I really liked their Vector design. There's kind of a spectrum with mermaid designs where one end is fully human and the other is fully fish. Mermaid designs can vary in exactly where they lie on the spectrum. There's more human-like mermaids that are just fully human upper half and fishy lower half, and more fish-like mermaids that integrate more fish elements into even the human parts of the design. Since my editing assistant Lively is fond of them, I also feel it's appropriate to mention legfish, which is what they call a fish upper half and a human lower half. Love them. All three designs in this set leaned more on the fish side, which I thought was really interesting. For Vector's, we lose the human skin tone entirely, making his whole body very sleek and gray like a shark. It really makes his yellow eyes pop. Adding to that, there's also these yellow highlights on the fins and glowing yellow gills and stripes, which I thought were very cool additions. This design is very simple, but still effective at what it does, highlighting the important elements without needing to add a ton of additional detail to get the idea across. I often find that simple designs can be a lot harder to make than complex ones, because there's less for the eye to focus on and it can be much easier to see the flaws. You have to be really economical with what you choose to add because every element is likely going to get stared at more than pieces of a really cluttered design. Now, that's not to say that I don't like cluttered designs. Honestly, I wish I was better at designing more detailed outfits because I find them to be really fun to draw. But I have an appreciation for the simple stuff too, and this design does it really well. I struggled a bit figuring out a perfect pose for this one, but had the idea of drawing my glowy shark boy with some cool glowing fish, and worked the rest of the pose around highlighting that interaction. Also made the background of this kind of oceany dark green to help the lights pop more. Now, the two stickers for this month's theme were pretty easy. In fact, I had them drawn and colored and everything within a few days of the contest finishing. The print was another story. So, if there's one thing y'all need to know about me, it's that I love storytelling. That's probably pretty obvious from the type of videos and artwork I make. I love being able to tell a story with my art, mostly through comics and videos, but also in illustrations. Character interactions and little story moments are some of my favorite things to draw, to the point I almost never draw a character just standing there or posing and looking pretty. There's gotta be something going on, whether it's an exchange with another character, some kind of complicated emotion, or a snapshot of a scene. It's why I draw so many little comics in my sketchbooks. These are like cocaine to me. So when I was working on this print, I knew I wanted to include some kind of interesting character interaction between the members of the cast. It would have been easy to just draw a bunch of mermaids swimming around and being cute together, but this does not satisfy the hunger in my soul. And that soul hunger made this print so much more complicated than it needed to be. Do you know how hard it is to fit 5 characters on a 5x7 print in a satisfying way that has both a nice composition and effectively shows off both the designs of the characters and their personalities? It's hard. It's really freaking hard. I did so many thumbnails for this piece and ended up choosing one I liked well enough, but I still worry I didn't show enough mermaid elements in my MerMay piece. I'm a little self-conscious about it, please be nice. But what I'm not moping about is these designs, so let's talk about them. In their submission, the artist Box of Cereal did designs for the full main cast and wrote a whole bunch that I'm going to shorten just a little bit for time. As I was thinking of ways to create an interesting concept for the designs, I couldn't help but incorporate some pirate motifs in there and made it a spectrum of sorts. At one end, we have Ariana, who fully leans into the pirate motif. She probably runs her ship with an iron fist, catching bounties out on waters left and right. Then there's Rory, who I like to think has a closer connection to the sea due to her close friendship with Marina. Then we've got Frankie, who's right in the center of the spectrum. He toes the line between human and mermaid and does his best to hide it because he's based on a shark and doesn't want to seem scary. Then we have Marina, who is a full mermaid, though is very connected to the surface in the same way Rory is connected to the sea. I wanted Marina to seem like the ideal mermaid, being beautiful and sweet and just a joy to be around, as a way to contrast the stigma that Frankie would face being a shark, and especially to contrast Vector. Being based off an anglerfish, people find his appearance scary, and the light on his head, for whatever reason, scares creatures off. But he longs for the connection to the surface that Marina and even Frankie have. Did I overthink this prompt and end up crafting an entire mermaid/pirate cast FAU? Maybe, but I regret nothing. And you know what? You should regret nothing, because I adore these! This was one of a handful of entries that included some human members of the cast alongside the mermaid designs, which I thought provided a really interesting concept for the print. How would I show the mermaid characters interacting with the humans and vice versa? This led to some similarities with the original MerMay print from a few years ago, but I'm not complaining. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I really like the designs for this set. The little strings of pearls made by Marina decorating several cast members, Rory's cute little overall shorts and socks, Ariana looking like a badass pirate, and Frankie looking like he's fresh off a shipwreck. I also really love all the details in the outfit and the mermaid aspects of Marina especially, which is why it kills me that they're barely visible in the print. I did this to myself. I chose a fun composition over one that showed off the details more effectively. Lock me in the brig for my crimes, I deserve it. But look at little pirate Rory showing Marina her schematics for a mermaid tail. She's gonna invent something that'll let her swim with her mermaid friends. Is Ariana jealous? Maybe? Who can say? And Vector's still a little skittish, but Frankie's always eager to make new friends, and I think that this is the start of a lovely fishy friendship. I ended up busting out some primitive 3D models for the dock just to get the perspective just right, which was way faster than drawing and redrawing perspective grids over and over. Never be afraid to make your life easier, friends. Blender is your buddy. This is no different than animators using maquettes for referencing characters and scenery. Live free! I also snagged a separate reference for the ship, just to make my life a little easier and get the proportions correct. I knew it wasn't going to be too detailed so as to not take focus away from the characters, so I just made it a silhouette. In the end, while I still wish I had been able to actually draw more of the mermaid characters to really show off their designs, I really like the storytelling elements here, and I think the print came out really charming. Much love to the fishy friends. And that's gonna be a wrap for this one. Much love to all our entrants, congrats to our winners, and I hope everyone had fun. What sort of themes would you like to see for the next one? I won't be doing another contest like this again super soon, but if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. I always love hearing your thoughts. If you'd like to grab this month's merch, you can do so by joining my Patreon, and if you want to know more about the characters, you can read the full comic for free online. Links for both of those things will be down in the description. Make sure to subscribe for videos like this every single month. A huge thank you to my patrons for their support, and of course, much love to my video shout out to your patrons. Holly, Mr. Don Matsu, Alyssa Herzog, Neon Valkyrie, and Sammy Katz. Thank you so much for helping to fund my new watercolor supplies. That's right, everyone, I've been unleashed onto a new medium, and I cannot and will not be stopped. Alright, and that's it from me. Fare thee well, friends, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!